Thanks for joining me for another round of Coffee with Katie. I'm really appreciating the way that this time is allowing us all to connect. I have really enjoyed getting to hear some of your stories, which I'm still getting to hear as you take in the first edition of Coffee with Katie. And I've also enjoyed getting to hear from some of you about what you're up to during this time of physical distancing. And one thing that I noticed that many of you have remarked on is that you seem to be getting more time to talk to family and friends as you find different ways to connect, even though that talking isn't always face to face. And how wonderful it is that we still have each other to lean on during this difficult time. And I have also appreciated getting to hear about the many different ways that you are all connecting with each other. And so Janie sent me a picture of these virtual hugs that were made and sent by her grandchildren. It is awesome to see people reaching out in creative ways as we overcome this challenging time together. We know that this global pandemic has come with its challenges and difficulties that slowly but surely we are getting through together. Now, these challenges have varied from person to person. Like many of you, I have found it challenging over time to engage in physical distancing. But one of the other things that I found challenging at the beginning of the global pandemic was grocery shopping. And not just because of my lack of patience and also my disinterest in waiting in a line, but I also felt frustrated when shopping trip after shopping trip, I wasn't able to get some of my grocery list staples. The shelves for things like oatmeal, chickpeas, and beans were bare for far too long, not to mention the toilet paper aisle. And who would have thought that we would ever live through a time when toilet paper was one of the hottest things on the market? And now I am very aware that the problem that we faced of bare grocery store shelves at the beginning of the pandemic, the problem that I am now complaining about, is a challenge that some people in other parts of the world face each and every day. But while our grocery stores seem to have caught up to our demand, it has got me thinking about sustainability and how God offers us good food through His creation. One of the ways that our Presbyterian denomination responds to food shortage and scarcity abroad is through sustainable agricultural practices. And when I traveled to Malawi several years ago, I was blessed with the opportunity to visit some Presbyterian World Service and Development projects where this is happening through various forms of sustainable farming. But there is one form of agriculture that we can all engage in some way or another, and that is gardening. Vegetable gardens can provide us with fresh, nutritious food to eat and to share. And gardening can also provide us with sustainability in the face of uncertainty. This has been modeled to us in history, and during the First and Second World Wars, family and community-centered gardens became an integral part of daily life as they found new ways to get their calories and nutrition during times of great disruption and food scarcity. And then, many gardens that were planted during the First World War also helped to carry people through the Spanish flu, which disrupted society even further after the devastation of the First World War. And so gardens provided certainty in the midst of uncertainty in the past, and they can continue to function in the same way for us today. Last summer was my first experience with vegetable gardening. And so my husband Jody and I have been living in an apartment for so many years that was surrounded by a lot of tall buildings in downtown Montreal, and our tiny balcony just didn't see that much sun. But when we moved to Winnipeg last year, I was very excited about the potential of vegetable gardening in our little backyard. But what I failed to take into account was just how dry and hot it gets in Winnipeg. I'm used to summering in places like Montreal, on Prince Edward Island, or in Nova Scotia, where sure, yes, it gets hot, but because those places are close to water, it is nothing like the hot, dry summers in Winnipeg. Everyone warns you about the cold, dry winters of Winterpeg, but clearly the cold is so scarring on those outside of the province that people forget to talk about the beautiful, hot, sunny summers here in Winnipeg. And so now that I've learned from my mistakes and know just how often I need to water my vegetables while living here in Winnipeg, I'm ready to take the gardening scene by storm again this year. And this past weekend, over the long weekend, I did some container gardening in my backyard. One of the great features about living in a military community is that you get people's old things when they move. And so we acquired 2 bins last year, we got another 2 this year. And my husband Jody and I did up some bins of tomatoes, peppers, beans, and cucumbers. And then we did a 4th bin of some herbs, which are already letting off such a nice smell. Now, the thing I like about container gardening is that you can do it in whatever little outdoor space you have, provided you're getting enough sunlight. You could even do a pot of herbs right on your windowsill if you live somewhere without any kind of outdoor space. And for people like us that move frequently, we can take our bins with us wherever we go to continue this project in our next backyard. And the other great thing I'm finding about bins is that if it happens to get too chilly at night during this earlier part of the spring, then they are convenient enough for my wonderful husband to carry in during the night to keep warm. And so that's just a quick look at the gardening project that I undertook this past weekend. But this is an ongoing project that is by no means finished because, as I mentioned before, my plants went significantly underwatered last year. So I'll be kicking up the notch on watering them. But there are also many other things that go into caring for plants so as to produce the vegetables that we are hoping for. And so if you are a gardener, you'll know that along with water, you might also want to give them some plant food to help nourish them and make them grow strong. It is also important that vegetable plants be put in just the right place, because they need rich soil and several hours of sun to thrive. We put cages around our vine plants to support them when they grow taller. And you also must weed out anything that tries to take root around your plants so it doesn't take away from your plant's ability to flourish. And it is when I am considering this process that I realize just how much God loves us. I, along with many of you, are willing to go through this gardening process, not only because it is an enjoyable way for us to pass the time, but we look forward to the reward of the fresh vegetables at the end. We didn't create the plants, the seeds, the soil, or anything else. We just put it all together and we care for them as best we can, while we wait to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So how much more does God love and care for us, the very children that He has made? And just like we care for our plants, so too does God care deeply for us. God is tending to us just like plants, because He actually made us and this whole world that we live in. He is tending to our souls through His Spirit and by His Word, even when we mess up and go wrong. He is still there, caring for us and tending to each of us because He loves us. We are His creation, and He wants to see us flourish and thrive in this world. And one of the ways that we thrive in this world is by using gifts from God's creation to give energy to our bodies. When we eat the good food that comes directly from God's creation, we not only get away from human-made chemicals that can hurt our bodies, but we also engage in a sustainable food practice that helps us move one step closer to ensuring that there is enough food for all in this world. Not to mention the peaceful time spent in gardens, which helps us move toward mindfulness as we spend more time in the moment. It is also a wonderful opportunity for prayer and praise. We pay attention to the birds singing, the refreshing breeze, the crinkling leaves, and we sense God's loving presence manifest in this world He has made. Gardens are the sign of hope in the midst of uncertainty. They are a sign of hope in tomorrow. During a global pandemic, we need hope for tomorrow. I saw a report the other day that said a seed company based in the southern United States has seen about a 300% increase in orders on seeds since mid-March. And so this year, if you haven't already and you're looking for something new, maybe try planting a garden because you hope in tomorrow and because you want nutritious, delicious food right from your backyard. Grab a bin like we did, or even do something as simple as grabbing a kid's pool, filling it with soil, and start planting. And as you garden and care for your plants, think about how much more God is caring for you as He tends to you so that you can grow, flourish, and thrive in this world. And even if you aren't planting a garden this year, look around at the gardens you see and the many other wonders of creation and marvel at God's amazing, beautiful world. Marvel at the fact that the beauty we see around us in this world is only a faint reflection of how beautiful God really is. And also, marvel at the fact that the same God who made the most beautiful wonders of creation is the same God who made you in His image, just the way you are. I'm looking so forward to Thanksgiving at Westwood, when we can bring in the colorful, nutritious, dense fruits of our gardening labor as an offering to God before they are distributed at Winnipeg Inner City Missions. And if you are doing some gardening of any kind this year, then please send me a picture. I would love to see your beautiful plants and even feature them in my video next week as we enjoy God's beautiful creation together. And if you're inspired by the videos that you're seeing on this channel and haven't already, then hit subscribe below. And also be sure to like us on Facebook, Westwood Presbyterian Church, so that you can stay up to date on the goings-on in the life of our congregation. I hope you'll be able to tune in with me this Sunday as we worship God on Ascension Sunday, the day that marks Jesus ascending to heaven. And I look so forward to having a cup of coffee with you all again next week.